welcome to Trojans Live, presented by Monster Energy on AM 790 KBC and across the USC Trojans Media Network. I am Jordan Moore, the Monster Energy fueled Sean Cody next to me. You don't have to hide it. It's a sponsored drink.
The sun's down. That's pretty aggressive.
You can drink it in front of everybody. And our quarterback, Max Brown, will be joined shortly by the head coach, Lincoln Riley. But guys, the regular season comes to an end, a strange end in that everyone else is still playing this week. We sort of thought it would go on. It ended abruptly on Saturday, a tough day all around in the Coliseum.
Yeah, a bye week ending, and then you thought maybe we had a chance earlier in the season to get into this championship game and play mean football at the end of the year. It just hasn't broke that weight for the Trojans this year. A tough ride in these last six, and it's been tough. It's disappointing in the way we thought this thing was going to break out and the way it's gone. So a lot of things to get addressed and fixed and move forward as Trojans.
Anything surprise you that you saw on Saturday, Max?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the UCLA defense, even though we talked about how good they were, to really stop this Caleb Williams-led offense. I think the ground game, especially too, with some of the bright spots we'd seen there. But obviously, yeah, tale of two seasons, right? Strong first half, and then a tough second half.
Well, USC's head coach interview is presented by iTrust Capital, the official crypto platform of the USC Trojans. We are joined now by the head coach, Lincoln Riley. The season finishes at 7-5. Coach, I'm curious, the last 48 hours, so the regular season ends. What do you do? Do you meet with players? Do you meet with coaches? Do you meet as a team? What do you do in this situation?
Yeah, we met. We met this afternoon. We gave the guys Sunday off, just a chance to get away a little bit, which I think was probably good for all of us. And so we're up here as a staff, had several recruits in on Sunday, which was great to connect with them. Our coaches are now out on the road recruiting. We've missed that a little bit with the bye week being so late, so a lot of the assistants are out on the staff right now. And yeah, I think we've had a lot going on here the last 48 hours, a lot of meetings with players, certainly starting to take a look ahead at bowl prep, and then two, naturally with the defensive coordinator position open, certainly starting to look ahead to that, which that obviously is going to be a very important hire for our program. And then, yeah, I think you start to take stock of, this time of year with recruiting, getting ready to obviously kick heavily into gear with National Signing Day not too far away. Obviously, the transfer portal getting ready to open. A lot of roster moves that are going to be made are going to start to happen here in the next several weeks. And so, yeah, there's a lot to be done. It's like, your regular season ends one day, and then there's like you're right into so much more that's going to shape next year and the coming years, and that's been our focus here the last 48.
Coach, we talked about after the game a little bit, a long grinder of a 9-game series, a span where you guys had it, no time off, just had to just go to work, and it looked kind of like a team that maybe at the end things were starting to fall apart a little bit. What was your main takeaways from the game against UCLA?
Like I said, it's eerily similar to the Notre Dame game. 5 turnovers and that 5 turnovers, and then I thought their defensive line really dominated the game in terms of against our offensive line. To me that was the entire game. I felt like the team did a good job responding from a bad start. We were able to regain momentum. We got several stops in a row. The offense finally kind of got on track a little bit there at the end of the first half. And then we told the team coming out like that the beginning of the third quarter is going to be really telling. Like we've got some momentum right now. You guys did a good job regaining it after the slow start. Like this is where we got to go. And then, we kind of had a strange drive. There we get the fumble. They take it right back off the board. We have a perfect blitz called on the third down play, and we come out of coverage on the back at the very last second as we're sacking the quarterback, possibly even a sack fumble. And then we fumble offensively, I think, the very next play for a turnover touchdown. It's just like 14 points just like that. And then we didn't respond well after that. It kind of took the air out of our team, the start there at the third quarter, and which was obviously disappointing because there was still a ton of game left to play. And we certainly didn't respond. Did the culmination of 9 straight there, did the culmination of the high expectations within our walls and not winning some of those really close games show up there at the end? maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Again, like I said after, there's no excuses for it. I mean, just plain and simple. That's it's not our expectations, not what I'm about, it's not what this program's about, it simply wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough on Saturday, and after a great start to the season, starting 6-0, putting ourselves in that position to not take advantage of some of the opportunities that we missed throughout the second half of the season will eat at us. We'll never get those back, but it'll also heavily motivate us to make sure that we're not in that position again.
Coach, you mentioned the DC hire. It's obviously front of mind for you, front of mind for USC fans. You get the extra week to either prep for that or engage in that process. And I'm curious what that process looks like for you. Is it do you have a running list of defensive guys you're tracking? Is it leaning on your coaching relationships? Is it hiring outside help? How does that process look for you to come to a final decision?
A little bit of everything. I think you certainly always have lists. You certainly always have people in mind for various positions, as there's just going to be natural ebbs and flows that way. There's a lot of research that gets done at this point on some of these top tier prospects. Just again, whether it's in college, whether it's in the NFL, wherever it's at. I mean, this is USC. You're going to have a chance to go hire just about anybody that you want, and so. We certainly don't want to eliminate anyone, but we also want people that have a proven track record and people that have done this at a high level and have showed a consistent level of excellence. And so, and then I think also with that, being here 2 years now, I think the other piece that we can't miss on is the fit, right? Like USC is a special place. It's also a very unique place, and for those of our fans or maybe our long-term, supporters here, people that have been so invested in this program, it's not like this everywhere else, right? Like this is a really, really unique and special situation, and that's what makes it great. But you also have to find the right fit. You got to find the right fit in players. You got to find the right fit in coaches, and certainly with this hire, their expertise, their ability to come in and impact our program, but certainly their fit and their desire to be part of what we're building here is a huge factor. And the good thing is we don't have to settle in any part of it. The reality is the relevance of this program is back. The year didn't finish the way we wanted, and still, 2 days later, you got a million things going on in the sports world, and one of the top stories still is about USC football, and that is where it should be. Now, we got to change the narrative of the story. We want the story to be written in a different context, and we will. And part of the reason it's back because of the tremendous success that we had in year one. And so the opportunity to go hire a great one is there, and we're going to settle for nothing but the best.
You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. Coach, I was just sort of grinding over some numbers, comparing this year and last year, and two things stood out. One is a 23 turnover difference, right? Last year you were plus 21. This year you were minus 2. The other thing I was just sort of looking at, which I just sort of thought about in the second half, there was a lot of chasing points. Last year, it always felt like you were ahead. You'd take the ball first and score. You were a great first quarter team. The first quarter numbers weren't terrible, but there were a lot of coming from behind. And how much pressure did that put on your team? Again, on Saturday, we were right there at halftime, but still, you're playing uphill in so many of these games.
Yeah, I think it wears on you, especially when it's 9 straight weeks of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. And you add that again, the expectations of this team. When it didn't go our way, we didn't handle that well. Now we fought, we battled. We had a lot of those where we're down and we come back and we either win it or we have a chance to win it. Like we battled. But yeah, when you consistently put yourself in that position where you got to come back and win, it's not going to happen all the time. Like it's not going to happen. You've got to flip that to where, okay, if you got to come back and win a couple in a year or 2 or 3, yeah, okay, like most people do. But you got to put other teams in that hole more too. And you're right. I mean, we kind of constantly played with the pressure ourselves of having to come back. And I think the reality is as much as any team I've been around, we really struggled to play, and I know we talked about it some on this show throughout the year, we really struggled to play complementary ball where we strung it together for a long period of time. And that's obviously something that has to get better, and it's something that plagued us in the second half of the season because those big runs that we at times gave up, we weren't trading blows with teams and that putting teams in the hole as well. And that just from a psychology standpoint certainly does weigh on you. So yeah, I mean the turnover differential was big. I mean, yeah, I mean, and listen, it was a more challenging schedule this year. I mean, no question about it. It was a tremendous year for the league. A lot of really good teams, and we were, some of those close ones that we found a way to win in year one. We didn't win those in year two, some of them, and that's why we're sitting here. Again, you can go flip 4 or 5 plays in the year, and it's probably sitting here with the same record that we were sitting here with last year at this time. And it obviously feels a whole lot different. Now, the net result after a couple of years was still going to be there's going to be a long ways to go and a lot to grow with this program. No matter how many we won year one, no matter how many we won year two, if the sequence would have been flipped, everybody would be feeling great, like, oh, my God, they won 7 the first year, then they won 11 next year, and like, man, it feels so good. We were going to still have the same holes and the same things to get better at no matter what, and that is part of the evolution of the program, and it's a jagged way to the top. It's not always this just nice, smooth, clean, perfect arc to the top of where you want to be, and that's why I've said many times, my desire to be here, my desire to get this thing right, my desire to be here for the long haul and not just when things go right or not just when we have a great first season. Like I'm ready to be here through the peaks and the valleys to get it right, and we are going to get it right.
Coach, your quarterback, Caleb Williams, has some decisions to make, and I'm sure you're part of those conversations and what's going to happen with his career moving forward if, possibly come back, NFL, bowl game opportunities. I watched him run out of the tunnel, on Saturday night, and I thought, hey, maybe that might be the last time that we see Caleb Williams run out. What would you, if that's the last time, what was your takeaway from how it all went for him and how your relationship with him and how it's been and the mark he left at USC? Yeah,
no, I mean he's had a really fun 2-year run here with us. Obviously helped us get this thing restarted, and has been a tremendous leader and a really good player for us. And I mean I think anytime you come to school, you win a Heisman, you do some of those things. I mean it certainly leaves an impact. And so he's been tremendous and whatever. Whatever he ultimately decides, his certainly, mark here in a short amount of time has been important. And we'll look back, I think, years from now and say that was the start of when all this great stuff that's getting ready to happens. We'll look back and say that was a part of it. Yep. And he was a part of it. A lot of these players that bought in here and fought their tail off for this program in the beginning were a part of it. And we'll obviously see how it unfolds. That's the nature of our jobs is you get used to that, right? You're not going to have the 10-year player, and especially nowadays, it feels like they move in and out even faster, and so you do become used to it. But no, he's been a special one to coach, and we'll obviously see where it goes from here.
Coach, my first year here was 2013. It was the season after the 2012 team was the preseason #1 team in the country, and then they followed that up with a 7-5 season. And obviously every season's different, but going into that off season, I was a new freshman. It kind of goes one of two ways. You can have it lead to be a chip on your shoulder and you're pissed off that off season, or it can go a step further and it can be a snowball effect of negativity, to be honest. How do you approach this off season where it is the first side of it's chip on the shoulder, let's attack this thing, but it's not to the point where, guys start splintering off and guys aren't trusting the process? How do you approach that?
Well, it's going to be the first. I mean, we're gonna make sure that it's the first, because I think I think the pride in this program and the belief in this program of where we can go. The reality is, did the expectations weigh us down at times this year? Yes, but I still am never going to compromise the expectations. We just got to learn how to handle them better. We got to learn how to play better. We got to learn how to play together more and more consistent. But the expectations aren't going to change. And the second part of it is, as this has been going on and everybody sees what's happened on Saturdays on the surface, the other part of this roster is starting to build. And there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that you don't see yet on Saturdays that you're going to notice them here pretty quick. We didn't necessarily have that in year one. That's starting to happen, and we're getting ready to go put another class on top of that class. And the next year we're going to put another class on top of that class. And this thing's not just going to grow from, the guys you see on Saturday or maybe a portal guy here or there that we take, but the lower part is starting to rise up to the top too. And when you see kind of behind the scenes of things that are happening there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of excitement in the team meeting room today about the future of this, about getting ready for this bowl game, about this next month and what it can mean for our program. And the answer is we're going to have enough good people, players and coaches in the room that we're only going to let it be option A.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Big month ahead for the USC football program. As Coach mentioned, National Signing Day coming up. A bowl game will get an announcement here soon. A defensive coordinator. Coach is working on that. Lots to talk about here on Trojans Live with Coach going forward. So thank you so much. Thank you all season, Coach, for taking your time with us. We really appreciate it. It's great to have you each week and your perspective and listen to our questions every now and then. Is not always the
even
easiest.
my questions. Thanks, Coach.
But we really appreciate it. Thank you, Coach. We have Max Miller's coming up next. Men's water polo, boy, they turned their season around. They won the MPSF tournament to make NCAAs this past weekend. Max Miller was the hero. He's next on Trojans Live.